Good morning, everyone. This is Michael Gibbs, and I'm the founder and CEO of Go Cloud Careers, and we're here today to help you build your best cloud computing career. We're here to answer any questions you may have about starting your first cloud architect job, or the things that you need to learn to get that first cloud architect job, or whether you desire to be a cloud engineer and the things you need to learn to become a cloud engineer, or maybe you want to move into tech management, or maybe you want to know how to clear your next interview. Whatever your cloud computing career question is that you have, we want to assist you get cloud hired. For those of you that don't know me, my name is Michael Gibbs. I've been working in tech now, over 25 years, and I've been helping others get their first tech job or get promoted in tech for more than 2 decades. And I'm going to help you, and I want to help you get cloud hired. So we're here completely free 3 times a week to help you build your best cloud computing career. So if your goal is to learn about a cloud architect job or a solution architect job or a cloud engineer job, we know what you need to do. The reason we do this is as follows. The shortest distance between 2 points is a straight line. And our experience with the right kind of coaching, we can shave years to get someone to their goal career by training right and knowing what to do. So that's why we're here completely free for all of you to help you build your best cloud computing career, cloud architect career, cloud engineering career, etc. First thing I want to tell you about is we decided to extend the Memorial Day sale. The economy is getting a little tough out there, and we want to help you all get hired. In today's world, you're going to have to be better to get cloud hired, and that's why we're here. We've extended the sale, 30% off of all of our products. We've gotten more people cloud architect jobs this year than I can even count. People with experience, people without experience. I can't even count them anymore. It's been so exciting. Basically, almost every day, one of my students says, Mike, I'm cloud hired, and we love it. So if you want to build your career, get that first cloud architect job or first cloud engineer job, we've extended our 30% Memorial Day discount. Use coupon code MEMORIAL. Also, some free things we're going to do for you. If you're looking to get Microsoft Azure certified, we're going to run a completely free Azure Solution Architect Expert Bootcamp in June. You've come to our channel before, and if you don't know, we have a free AWS Certified Solution Architect Associate Bootcamp on our channel, a free CCNA bootcamp on our channel, and a free Super Intro to Networking, which is with the AWS Advanced Networking. That's just real basic, and we didn't make it basic. We extended it far beyond that curriculum, but it's a basic curriculum. So you've got that as an intro. You got a CCNA, there's some Intro to Networking, and we've got the AWS Certified Solution Architect Professional and Associate on our course. But guess what? Now you'll have the Azure Solution Architect Expert completely free on our YouTube channel. So please sign up. There'll be lectures, there'll be take-home labs that you get to do. It's going to be lots and lots of fun. So please join us. It's absolutely, completely free. Now join us tomorrow, completely free, for the How to Get Your First Cloud Architect Job webinar. We do this every week. People come from all over the world, and I tell you how to get your first cloud architect job. I'll tell you how to leverage your life experience to show the hiring manager you have experience when you don't, because there's no such thing as no experience. Life is cumulative. The lessons you learn will make you a better architect. Then I will tell you exactly what the hiring manager desires in the perfect employee. When you're the perfect employee, guess what? You get hired every time. Then I'll tell you exactly the cloud architect job, so you'll understand it so well. You know exactly what to learn, so you won't be wasting your time on things like Python scripting or sysops or maintenance, because that's not part of our job. So you're going to know exactly what the job is. Then after that, we will talk about how do you tune your resume, the certifications that will improve your resume versus the ones that will hurt your resume. And then we're going to talk about bypassing HR, getting your resume directly in the hands of the hiring manager so you can get hired. Completely free. Come join us tomorrow. It'll be on Zoom. We'll present for an hour, and you can ask questions live on Zoom. Face-to-face conversation, completely free. So join us tomorrow. Now, also on Friday, we're going to do a free interview with a CEO of an application of a company that has a cloud-based application that makes driving safer and flying more safe. And we're pretty excited to talk to you about. So we're going to bring that to you on Friday. We're going to be bringing CEOs and industry experts to talk about how they're using the cloud to make the world better, to improve safety, healthcare, security, all kinds of cool stuff. Because we love the cloud. It's transformational because we're cloud architects. And what do cloud architects do? Digital transformation. So it's going to be real fun. So we've got all those three things coming for you. So now to begin, I'd love you to ask your questions and so we can help you build your career. But before we do that, give me a hashtag cloud hired, and also give me tell me where you're located. I'm in Port St. Lucie right now, Florida, where it's nice and sunny. My cat's happy. She's outside chasing bees and flies and God knows whatever else she finds out there. But she's out there purring and all kinds of happy. Where are you guys located? So give me a cloud hired and tell me where you're located, and then please ask some questions And that's why we come on, to help you really build your best career. So I see Katy, Texas. Sounds like that's right around Houston. My past experience. Arturo, LA. Haven't been there in a little while, but I spent a lot of time in that city. Manila, Florida. Well, probably not that far away from me, but it's a place I actually haven't been to, believe it or not, and I think I've been everywhere. Ghana, fantastic. Yvonne, thank you so much for joining us. So let me begin with Flying Kite's question. Mike, you enjoyed the show last night. What are your thoughts about someone in the non-tech industry who wants to prepare for uncertainty to transition in the cloud? Flying Kites, I think we have to do what we love. And I think this is really, really great. So the key is, crisis also creates opportunity. And, right now, I think it's 68 tech companies that have done some layoffs, but the total people laid off so far are basically only 16,000. So it's extremely small numbers, what's going on. Now, what's going on is, as things go on, and last night, like I said, we see some alarming economic trends, but we're not in a recession yet, but we see some alarming economic trends. And, we don't know what the future is going to bring, but we're advising people on, here's how you plan your career in good times, and also here's how you plan your career in good times and bad times. So I went into the tech industry during a very unique time. It was going into the peak. And then I finally got a really big job, and then poof, the internet bubble came crashing down. So I went through a series of watching people get laid off. And I had extremely limited experience because, my world is practicing internal medicine. So, that's me. What I found was those skills that I learned from my other industries were actually the ones that kept me staying hired when everybody else was not. And what I mean by that is I come from a people-oriented world. And in tech, the people that were people-oriented were magical. So someone coming from a non-tech industry, that's actually kind of good, because a lot of what employers are looking for are the attributes that a non-technical person has. So, but it depends on the job. The architect jobs, and I've been getting a lot of people architect jobs that come from other industries. And the reason the architect jobs are so good for people with other industries is, as a rule, as an architect, we design, present, and sell. And the selling, the presentation, all that really strives on our communication skills, our ability to read the room, our ability to manage our emotions and other person's emotions, emotional intelligence, our social intelligence, our ability to read body language, our ability to lead, our ability to communicate, our ability to bring in a team together and bring out the best. So for us architects, that's 60+% of the job. So coming from another industry actually positions you very well. And here's the issue. In Flying Kites, I don't believe this for a second. And I'm a techie too. And admittedly, I'm a little bit of a geek, but that's serious. So here's the thing. People have it in their mind that engineers are cranky people that just sit there and let me code. Can you do this? I don't feel like on a code, with no social skills, which is not, in fact, true. But it isn't a significant percentage, but it's not true as the rule. But that's the perception. So when you come from a non-healthcare, a non-tech background, the perception is, oh, maybe some personality, maybe some communication skills, maybe some empathy and emotional intelligence. So there's that. Now, Flying Kites, when it comes to transitioning and rough challenges, I would do something that's in need. Cloud architecture, because of the sales element, you're a revenue generator. Sales engineering, which is basically an architect with less business acumen and executive communication skills, but it's still on the sales side. Cloud sales, hugely important. So those are the things that are good. Now, cloud engineering, I still think people are going to hire during the tough economic times, and here's why. We design it, but we still need somebody to build it. And the cloud engineer is not like someone that got 10 certifications and got a job, because that won't work for cloud engineers either. The cloud engineer is a smart, educated professional. The cloud engineer knows the network and the data center, not just the cloud stuff. The cloud engineer's got good, strong Linux knowledge. The cloud engineer knows some Python scripting. The cloud engineer knows how to deploy and automate, maybe with some infrastructure as code. So now you're dealing with the cloud architect that's probably the safest in rough times. The cloud engineer that's still somewhat safe. Who's not safe? cloud admin people, junior level people. Here's the key. Don't start there. I never did. You don't need to either. None of my students start at the bottom. I don't have any students that say, hey, you got to do a help desk for 2 years before you can do an admin thing for 2 years, before you can get an engineer job for 2 years, before you can become an architect. That's nonsense. Nonsense. Our people's first jobs in many cases are cloud architect jobs, are solution architect jobs. So the key is, I still think you can enter. Not only do I think you can enter when people are not entering, especially if the world cools off. So flying kites, I remember in my youth, nurses were actually getting laid off. What happened was that we tried to do a national healthcare thing, which ultimately turned into big HMOs, and all the doctors were getting paid nothing, and the nurses were getting paid nothing and laid off. Then after that, nobody came into nurses. 3 years later, nurses were getting paid 300% more than I first graduated when I got out of nursing school. 300%. I'm not joking, because of the shortage. And we all hit that almighty supply and demand curve. So we've got, the quantity, price, and supply, and where they intersect is the optimal price. But that's neither here nor there. One day, if you guys want, we'll do a nice macroeconomics lesson, because I love teaching economics, because it's so critical for the architect. It's critical for anybody to know, but macroeconomics is really important. So one day, if there's a desire, I'll teach some macroeconomics or some Keynesian economic theory or some classical economic theory, because it's fun. So, and it's really helpful in people's lives. But I still think you can do it, but be the best. So when everybody else is nose ground in books and they're trying to go to things like GitHub and all that to be an architect, which we don't touch that stuff anyway, go out there and learn how to lead, learn how to present, learn how to sell, build your executive presence so the world sees you as better, build your empathy, emotional intelligence. Not only can you get hired during bad times, but when those bad times are over, you'll be seen as a leader and then rise to the occasion because you got them through rough times. And sometimes the best thing you can do in rough times is be the person that brings out the best in others, repairs the damaged morale after a layoff. So I don't even know that we're going to get to layoffs in any serious capacity. I think the big people are still going to be hiring, because here's why. As things, if they get more challenging, which could cost less overall, an intelligently designed cloud thing or a data center thing, in most cases, the cloud's going to be cheaper. And who's the person that can make the cloud cheaper? The architect and the engineer. But if it comes down to it, we don't need cloud admins. The engineers could do it. And if we need cloud admins, that position is ripe for outsourcing. So that's why I don't tell people to get 10x AWS certified and try and shoot for the bottom. We start people higher level. And by starting at a higher level, they're in a position that's an asset, a strength to the organization, a critical person that doesn't get laid off and outsourced. So that's why we would do what we do. Flying kite's an exceptionally good question. And please feel free to ask some more. I'd love to elaborate or whatever you desire. Arturo Gonzalez, you're asking me two questions. You're saying, what's the way to get cloud security to learn cloud architecture? Well, cloud architecture is overall system design. Cloud security is only security design. So you can't learn security to learn cloud architecture. You can learn security to learn cloud security, but you can't learn security to learn cloud architecture. So to learn cloud architecture, you really have two issues. And I'll tell you how to do it the easy, cheap way, which is with us, and I'll tell you how to do it on your own, which is going to take much more time, much more expensive. But I don't care. I'm going to tell you exactly how to get hired in either case. To learn architecture, I'm assuming you want to be an architect, you need the following traits. You need to first learn the network and the data center. So the network includes BGP, the routing protocol, how to tune it, manipulate it, optimize it. It includes interior gateway protocols such as OSPF. It includes IP addressing, subnetting, supernetting, etc., etc., etc. It includes knowledge of switching, which means VLANs, VLAN tagging, VLAN trunking, like 802.1q tags, etc. Spanning tree and rapid spanning tree and loop avoidance strategies. It involves NAT, one-to-one NAT, one-to-many NAT, static NAT, dynamic NAT, otherwise known as PAT, and all the use cases, which are just more than just going to the internet. It involves WAN technologies such as IPsec tunnels, SSL tunnels, Ethernet private lines, Ethernet over MPLS, private serial lines, as well as software-defined networking and SASE. It means knowledge of ARP and proxy ARP, etc., and DNS and DHCP and etc. Then on the data center side, Arturo, we're really talking about virtual machines, containers and container orchestration, block storage, object storage, file storage, load balancer architecture, stacking load balancers, etc. for when you need speed and intelligence. You got to get some complicated load balancer architectures. It involves knowledge of databases, what kind of relational databases are out there, what kind of NoSQL databases are out there, and not vendor proprietary things. I'm talking about things like Apache Cassandra versus MongoDB. There's kind of that. So, keep that in the back of your mind. And you have to understand what ERP, CRM, and all kinds of supply chain applications do and how they function. From the technical side, then you need to know security things. So then you need to know firewalls and next generation firewalls and how to architect them. And then it's about your IDS, IPS systems and how to architect them. Your VPN concentrators and how to architect them. Your authentication systems such as Active Directory, Radius, and others for your authentication, authorization, and accounting type purposes. Knowledge of encryption-based technologies. Now, that's the cloud architect stuff. Now, when we get into the cloud security component, now we're getting much more into writing security policy, hardening operating systems, the types of anti-malware protection you can pop on your servers, what the services to disable, what kind of host-based firewall and IDS, IPS systems are you using? How do you educate your group and your people against anti-phishing and anti-social engineering kind of campaigns, etc., like that? Kind of keep those in the back of your mind. So those are the kind of things in the security side. And then, event-driven security, such as things like Lambda function. If you're really good in security, you should be able to think about the architecture, about taking the logs from your systems. They'd be taking those logs, running from like a Kafka or Kinesis, and then running a visualization tool so you can see what's going on in real time. Knowledge of file integrity checks would be good to know. So those are the kind of things from the tech side. But we got to remember, the architect job is not just a tech job, it's a leadership job. So those would be the things that you need to learn. Now, in our course, we teach them all, but you could learn them on your own. But, you're talking about 5,000 to 10,000 pages or maybe 15,000 pages of reading to learn that. It's not covered in certification. Now, here's where it gets expensive. And we teach this all in our program, but here's where training gets expensive. You must have executive presence. Here's the difference. Today, we're going to talk about BGP. BGP is a path vector routing protocol used for interdomain routing to establish network layer reachability information. That is engineering speak. I need to have executive presence because it's needed to me. BGP is a path vector routing protocol used for interdomain routing. It feels different. It sounds different. So you need training in that. I personally have about spent, I know I've taken about $20,000 of executive presence training for my career, and it was critical. Companies help pay for it, and I paid for some of it as well. Next, you need to be able to sell, because our job is done 9% in sales. So we would train you for sales, but if you're not with us, get some sales training. Again, that's not going to be cheap, but you need the sales training to get these jobs. Then presentation skills training. You're going to be delivering presentations all day in this job. So we teach you how to present like an executive. But if you're not with us, there are people that do some presentation training. Now, it's good $3,000 to $5,000 for the week, and you'll need a couple of them. But, I'm telling you how to do it with us as well as how to do it on your own. I don't care how you do it. I just want you to cloud hired. Then you're going to need to do some ROI modeling training, because nobody's going to go buy your $1 billion architecture. You're going to have to show them that the $1 billion architecture delivers $2 billion of business value, and that by spending the money on your thing, they get a return or greater return on investment than putting their money somewhere else. So that means you need to help build business cases, do some ROI modeling, and explain to people, because the customers can only spend their money once. It's called opportunity cost. So you need to know that. So once we start getting beyond these things, then you're going to realize you're going to be speaking of conferences of upwards of people that have 5,000 people. You're going to be writing thought leadership documents. You're going to have to be an exceptional writer. You're going to have to be what's called CXO relevant, which means you're going to have to know what to say to the CEO versus the CFO versus the CTO. Again, probably spent about $25,000 of training or received it between what the companies pay for me and CXO relevancy training. And you need that to be a really good architect. Again, we talk about it all in our program. So basically what I did is I took a $50,000 coursework, made it basically one day's pay for the average cloud architect, and offered it because I wanted to get everybody hired at a price they can afford. So now you know exactly what you need to learn to become a cloud architect. And those things are also the things you need to learn to become a cloud security architect. Now, what's the difference? The cloud architect focuses on the big picture. The security architect focuses on the firewalls, the IDS IPS systems, the VPN concentrators, the Active Directories, the authentication systems, the encryption, those kinds of things. So one focuses just on security, one focuses on cloud, but you can't secure what you don't understand. So generally, be a cloud security architect, you need to know these things and operating systems and their vulnerabilities, etc., so you know exactly what to do. Arturo, those are the kind of things you need to learn that are really going to make you a great cloud architect or a cloud security architect. I gave you both. I gave you the cloud architect first because you said cloud security to learn cloud architecture, and you can't learn security to learn cloud architecture. You can learn architecture first, and then you can learn security. And then you can apply those same architectural principles either to the end-to-end solution design or to the security piece. But, one thing, and what is it, the job? It's design, present, and sell. So hope I answered your question there, Arturo. Please feel free to ask more. Good morning, John Wick, 825. Good to see you. Claudia, we'll find a job in engineering in the next 7 to 9 months, even if the economy is so great. Just wondering. Claudia, it's going to all be dependent upon you and your training. If you go in there and you're a moderately good architect without good soft skills, emotional intelligence, leadership skills, probably not. Now, if you're a good cloud architect, I mean, really good, really knowledgeable, and I don't mean a certification architect, because that's meaningless. I mean, someone that knows those network and data center concepts, someone that knows this cloud concept, someone that knows multi-cloud, someone that's got good, strong knowledge of Linux, good, strong knowledge of Python, Terraform, that kind of thing. Now, if that person also has an exceptionally good attitude, great levels of communication skills, some emotional intelligence, some empathy, and hopefully some executive presence like we train our people, then they should be good too. But the key is just being a garden variety engineer who thought they could get trained by certification alone. No, that person's not getting a job. But to be fair, Claudia, the people that think getting 10x AWS certified is going to get them hired isn't even working in a hot job market. And the reason is people want somebody that knows something. And I don't want a cloud engineer that says, S3 bucket, here's how to configure it. Why do I not want that? Well, I trained an 8-year-old to do it in less than 5 minutes. And I'm not going to pay $150,000 to $200,000 salary for a good person when I can teach an 8-year-old to do it. So the key is, what is it? Now, if I've got a cloud engineer that brings in and I got to say, help me figure this out. We've got to deploy these 18,000 servers that are Linux. We got our security requirements are such that we got to harden them down. And then we need to make sure that this company can talk to these other companies. But these companies can't talk to these other companies. Company A gets hacked. We don't want to affect company B. Hey, wait, we're running into some performance limitations with our block storage. So what do we want to do about it? Because block storage is so slow despite what they say in certification. Hey, wait, we're running into this performance constraint. How can we fix it? That person is hireable at all times. Who's not? The person that knows how to set up the S3 bucket and configure it. Now, they still need to do that and know how to do it, but that's child's play. What's taught in certifications, child's play. What we're talking about is the ability to go solve customer problems. Now, if it's an architect, we're solving customer problems. If that's an engineer, we're still solving customer problems. Now, how we do it is different. As the architect, we design, present, and sell. As the engineer, build and consult to the architects and to the other engineers. It's still the same point. Improve things. Which jobs will not die, in my mind? The person that only knows how to configure stuff. The certified person that's 10x AWS certified, they don't get hired anyway, but they're going to be the first to get laid off. And they're also going to be the first to not get hired when it comes to bad hiring times. Right now, it's so bad. There's more cloud architect jobs, honestly. I think you could flip a coin and land it and determine, which interview you had for the day. My students with no background get 10 to 15 interview requests per day for cloud architect jobs, just because they take our program. And because their LinkedIn profile has been optimized and their resume has been optimized. So there's always a need for good people. Always. And even when companies lay off, here's the thing. They still hire at the same time. I no longer need this division. I need more revenue. Bring me more sales reps and more architects. So that's the key. So cloud engineers, you'll still be fine. But you got to train right. Think right. So Like my martial arts coach told me many years ago, eat right, think right, train right. And he said, eat right, and you'll be healthy. Think right, you'll probably never have a conflict because you'll be able to talk yourself out of it. Train right, because if all else fails, you'll be prepared to go. So, Cloudy, what I'd say is eat right, stay healthy, think right, stay mentally strong, train right. Executive communication skills, leadership skills, sales skills, emotional intelligence skills, deep engineering skills, but deep Linux skills, Python skills, Terraform skills, and Bob's your uncle. You should be in good shape and get yourself a cloud hire. So be excellent. The best doesn't get laid off. Like I said, I've been through 20 layoffs, never been laid off myself. I've only had a single person that I coached in 20 years ever get laid off. This person got a 6-figure plus severance and had a $300,000 job within 1 week. He's been very happy. And he went back to that company 2 years later. Now he's one of the best cloud providers, having a really great career. So go after it. Conquer your dreams. Good times, bad times, you can get them. Just train harder. Harder, harder, harder. Be the best in the world and you'll always be needed. Great question there, Claudia. And please feel free to ask more. Chris, we can go to the next one. While we're at it, please join me tomorrow on our completely free How to Get Your First Cloud Job webinar. It's going to be a great time. It's completely free. We'll come. I'll tell you, how I transitioned from medicine to tech, show you that you can do it too. Then, what I'll show you is the things that the hiring manager desires, so you know how to get hired. I'll show you how to leverage your life experience from any industry so you can get hired. I will show you how to put on your resume. I'll show you how to bypass HR and get your resume directly in the hands of the hiring manager. And I'll tell you what certifications to get to help create the illusion of competency to help you get that interview. And then I'll tell you what you need to know, which is outside of certifications to get hired. So come join us. It's completely free. And you'll be able to ask us questions on Zoom, live, free. Quick Strike 21. Of course it's possible to get a cloud job. We get basically someone a cloud architect job every single day of the week. On Friday, in class, 5 of my students told me they got their first cloud architect job. Guess what? Most of them never had it worked in tech in their entire life. One of them was 21 with an associate degree, but he's brilliant. Never had a job in his life before us. And of course, he got hired as a cloud architect. No, we gave him an internship and he did a lot of work. He was strong. He wrote thought leadership documents with us. He helped co-author a book with us. We gave him lots of work to do and he did it, and I'm darn proud of him. But, Jordan Kitko was just hired by AWS the other day as a solution architect. He just graduated college. He's one of my students. It's his first tech job, period. Zero background. Had a Coyote, zero background, hired by AWS. Had a bodyguard recently got hired as a cloud architect. This person was at home unemployed. First job, first tech job ever. Cloud architect. So the cloud is nothing more than a network and a data center. That's it. Anybody's first job can be in the cloud. Anyone. Now, if you just get certifications, nobody's going to hire you or care. Because no one cares about certification other than the people that sell them. But you can do it. If you train right, you can do it. Why do our students get these big jobs every day? Because they train right. And here's why. We remove all of the stuff. We get rid of all the nonsense that they don't do. When people come to us and they're like, hey, Mike, I got a SysUp certification. I want to apply for a cloud architect job. I tell them to remove it from their resume. And here's why. It makes them a non-architect. So when people have DevOps certifications, I'm like, no, we got to remove that from your resume too. And they're like, why? And Quick Strike 21, I'll give you an example. I had someone who was really, really smart. I think he was an IIT graduate, which is probably the best tech school in the entire world. He had his master's degree. He had a resume that you couldn't possibly understand. And he goes on cloud architect interviews. And they're not interested in him. And he said, Mike, they keep asking me about all this non-architect stuff. And I said, show me your resume. He had all this DevOps, he had all this programming, he had all this sys stuff, he had all this non-architecture stuff, tech stuff, but not architecture stuff. And I said to him, I said, look, here's why you're being asked this tech questions. I said, if I dedicate an entire class to you and we redo your resume, would you take my advice and submit it to some company? And he said, sure, Mike. We took an entire class. We got rid of all the irrelevant certifications. We got rid of all the techie stuff that was in there. And we changed that resume to this thing that he designed. What was the revenue impact to the customer? This thing that he just, this machine learning application that he built, how did that improve the business? By the time we were done, I then removed every useless certification from his resume. He had 3 job offers within a week. And one of them was way, way, way above normal cloud architect. Double. But the key was, it's his first cloud architect job. It was actually working at a global retailer, believe it or not. He just did all this techie stuff on his own. He was just that smart. He just loved tech. So, cleaned it up, trained him, changed his presentation skills, his sales skills, emotional intelligence, leadership, and he fought me for these. Because I'm like, I just want to learn the tech. And I said, you're not going to get these jobs in the tech. Poof, hired. Great guy. Speak to him all the time. I'm so proud of him. So yes, you can all do it, but you have to have the brand. It's all about the brand. You have to have the right brand. So yes, you can do it. I did it. I took my first cloud that I worked on was in 1996. It was called Frame Relay. The next cloud I worked on was in 1999 called ATM. Then in 2000, there was a new cloud called the BGP cloud that was specified in RFC 2547. I worked on that cloud too. Then the next cloud I worked on was the VPLS cloud around 2001. So you're good to go and you should be great. So yes, you can do it. We got people to do it all the time. You can do it on your own. If you come to our webinar tomorrow, I'll tell you all the things you need to do, or you can do it with us. But I'm going to tell you right now, it's going to be better, faster, and cheaper with us. And the average cloud architect earns $600 a day. A good one easily earns double that. So the faster you get hired, the more money you're making. So opportunity cost of your time. So however you want to do it, but now you know you can do it. And do it. It's a great career. I highly strongly encourage it. Yes, Alonzo, don't be shy. Ask your questions. You're here to help. Maybe you're a medical person like me and you want to convert to the cloud. We can talk to you how to do it. Maybe you don't want to know whose certifications matter, or can you get hired without them, or anything you want. We can help you get hired. And I just want to give you the shortest distance between 2 points. So ask your question. Arturo Gonzalez, is it possible to get hired with no certifications? Absolutely. Recently, one of my students got a cloud architect job, and then afterwards, about 2 weeks later, he passed his AWS Certified Solution Architect Associate. So yes, it is possible. Having said that, I want you to understand what certifications do. Now, certifications for the architect are pretty much worthless, and here's the reason why, but they're still worthwhile, but they're worthless and they still serve a purpose. A cloud architect designs. A certification is the name of the service and how to configure that service. Wait. Cloud architect designs presents themselves. Certifications are on intro-level things like cloud admin, how to configure something. So, in terms of relevancy, the certifications are worthless for training us for our jobs. But the certifications do serve a purpose. They create an illusion of competency. So nobody knows what's on these certifications. And we know, but nobody in their mind really wants to believe that they're as bad and irrelevant as they are, except for hiring managers, we know it. So the certifications do create an illusion of competency, which would make us more inclined to bring you in for an interview. So I love the certifications, the right ones, because they help get you brought in for an interview. But they don't get you hired because the knowledge required to get hired in the certifications is opposite. Remember, one's on configurations and others on design. So they have no relevancy whatsoever to it, but they help us get that interview. So what we like to do is say get 2 certifications. We like to get 1 certification from the cloud, and that's either the AWS Certified Solution Architect Professional, the Azure Solution Architect Expert, or Be Google Professional Cloud Architect. No, we don't expect you to know any engineering or learn any engineering from the architecture from this, but sure looks good. Then we do like to add one other certification to build your portfolio. If you want to do cloud networking, it's like a CCNP or a CCI, something where you're actually going to learn something. But, it's a big industry. Why do I say a CCNP? Well, a CCNP from the beginning is about 10,000 pages of reading. Hey, wait, why not the AWS Advanced Networking? It's about 200 pages of reading. So the AWS Advanced Networking, the rest of us know, isn't even an intro to 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 junior level anything. Whereas the CCNP is, you're starting to get something. So we're trying to build a portfolio that's strong. Or maybe somebody desires to be a cloud architect. The focus on security. So we'll say, skip all the CompTIA certs, skip all the AWS Advanced Security certs, and get a CISSP or a CCSP. And you know what? If somebody doesn't have the experience, they can still take the CISSP. They get a title of associate. And after their experience, they don't have to retake the exam. They become a full CISSP. But it shows the employers that you've done it. And it shows that you've got something that they care about. So yes, you can get cloud hired without certifications, but it's a lot harder. It's a lot harder. So we like certifications. We like 2 of them. Now we realize they're pretty much worthless. So the fastest way you can get them done is great. So practice tests help you get through it faster, learn how they ask crazy questions, just get through it, knock it out, and learn the real skills. The network and the data skills, the BGP, the OSPF, the IP addressing, subnetting, supernetting, etc., route summarization / aggregation, the NAT, the one-to-one NAT, the one-to-many NAT, the static NAT, dynamic NAT, the switching, the VLANs, the VLAN tagging, the VLAN trunking, the spanning tree, the rapid spanning tree, the link aggregation groups like Ether channel and link aggregation groups, ARP, proxy ARP, DNS, DHCP. That stuff is critical. Knowledge of servers and server virtualization and containers and container orchestration, etc., etc. Then, knowledge of the right kind of databases to use, which kind, when you use relational versus NoSQL, knowledge of what kind of storage to use and how to optimize the storage, because cloud storage performs poorly, so how do we tune it and make it perform like the data center? What kind of our firewalls, IDS, IPS systems are we going to use and integrate, etc.? So it's a lot of knowledge. And yes, I've got a lot of people that are getting hired by cloud providers that are CCIEs, that's a certification, but not a cloud one, and they get hired with 0 cloud certs. I've had students with 0 cloud hard certs get hired as senior cloud architects by cloud providers. But you had a networking background. So the key is, if you don't have a background, you definitely need certifications. I like those too, but you can get hired without it. I've had students with no experience still get hired without certifications, but they were great. Great attitude, great energy, great enthusiasm, and stellar communication skills. But yes, you can do it. This is not a certification-based job. This is a knowledge-based job. And that's the thing. A physician goes to school for a long time for a reason. A lawyer goes to school for a long time for a reason. This cloud architect job pay at least as much as a doctor or a lawyer, because the assumption is you know something, not something you put in a certification, something you can put in the brain through professional development. And that's why people get certified to, like, I was an EMT, then I was a paramedic. I got certified as an EMT. It was an entry-level job. I picked up people, put them on a longboard, pulled them out of cars, put some oxygen on them, some masks on them. No big deal. It was a month. Then I went to school for 9 months and became a paramedic. Guess what? Then I could add a few basic drugs that I could do. But it wasn't until I went to school and I learned medicine that I really understood how things work. And that's the difference. The certifications produce that intro-level technician, whereas the professional development or the cloud architecture career development we do is the education to build that full career. So yes, you can get hired without certifications. It's much easier to get hired. And if you don't have background, we do want you to get some certifications. But focus on the concept, be great, and you'll get hired. And yes, it's totally possible. I'm 57 years old. Am I too late to start a career in the cloud? Absolutely not. The reason I talk about it when I get a 20-year-old hired is because it's so hard to get a 20-year-old hired as an architect. It's easy to get a 50-year-old hired as an architect, but it's hard to get a 20-year-old hired as an architect, and here's the reason why. When you're going to deal with someone that's going to be an advisor to a CEO, they're looking for some experience and some wisdom and some presence. Now, hopefully at 50 years old, 55 years old, 60 years old, you have it. Maybe you've led some people, raised a family. These are the skills that really matter. Maybe you've learned how to be emotionally intelligent because you've had to manage people throughout your career. These skills matter. So no, it's not about your age at all. Not one bit. Much easier to get someone that's older a job than someone that's younger because they've got experience. In fact, with my young people and the young 21-year-old that recently got hired, he came to the class the first day, and I'm going to tell when he was 20. And I said to him, I said, look, I'm going to push you twice as hard as everybody else. And he says, why are you going to do that? Why are you being unfair? And I said, you're 20 and nobody's going to want to hire a 20-year-old cloud architect. I said, so we're going to make you so good that they're going to think you're 40 and not even know. So we taught him how to walk and the way to wear his clothes and how to be executive president, how to command the room. Well, I'm very happy to say he's taken a very good job at a bank as an architect, cloud architect. So the key is you're not too old. Too young is a problem. We actually made a video, and Chris or Chow or someone from my team, can you put a little video? And I talked about age. And here's the thing. When we're young, we've got to make good, because nobody wants a young architect, but we can get it done. So when someone's young, they got to play to their strength. Well, that's a young person's strength. Energy and enthusiasm and excitement. What does a young person not have? Wisdom. Young people are more likely to take risks, etc. So with their young people, you've got to convince people their energy, enthusiasm, and passion is what the employer needs. And they've got enough knowledge to be good enough, and they can learn as they go. With an older person, we walk in there, hi, I'm Mike, I'm 50. I'm 48, but hi, I'm Mike. Then we could have an executive communication. Yes, I've been through a couple of business cycles. The last business cycle, there was this. Lessons learned from this, we can do this, this, and this. And yes, you're in a much, much better place. So no, 57 is not too old. Not at all. So you can watch our video, which talks about how to play your strengths. Does age matter? We just posted the video in the chat box for my team. Yes, it does matter. And you can win when you're young, and you can win when you're old. But you got to play a different game. More wisdom, more capabilities, more executive presence, more leadership skills, to better communicate. That's the game you play. Wisdom. Knowing what you know, knowing what you don't know, and not taking risks. Being able to bring out the best in others. Manage others. These are really the critical skills. And guess what? If you're older, you probably have more experience with it. So no, that's not too old. I don't believe in too old. I just don't. I also don't believe in too young. Do what you love, do what you want, and you're going to get there. But just train hard. I'm not going to say it's the easiest transition, but I used to work when I was a nurse practitioner. I worked hard. I'd go to the office. I'd be there at 7. I'd review some patient charts. I'd see patients till about 5. I'd do rounds with my patient in the hospital for an hour or two. That was a hard job. When I got home, I played with tech because it was my passion, my relief from life. When my wife says, hey, Mike, maybe you should work in tech. And I started working in tech. Yes, I've been in tech for 24 years, but I don't think I've ever worked a day in my life. I just love what I'm doing. And I've never had a bad day because I love it. Yeah, not everything's easy, but I don't care. I love what I do. So do what you love. Live your life to its fullest. And I'm going to tell you one thing. Unfortunately, in my career, early in my career, I saw a lot of people die, and it was not pleasant. And I had to inform the family of these things too, but I learned something. You know what people don't ask on their deathbed? I wish I had more money, Mike. They say, I always wanted to be a doctor. I wish I did this. I wish I took better care of my family. I was chasing money, and I didn't do enough job. I wish I didn't make this mistake. But they all say, I wish I did what I loved instead of what I was trapped in. So I don't subscribe to the you only live once and waste all your money and be in trouble every day. But I do subscribe that we only live once, and we maximize our time on earth. And we make a career that we love. We build families that we love. We build friendships that we love, and we make the most out of every day. And we live like we are dying, because guess what? We're all dying. We're all dying. So it's not too late. Go live your life. Go love your life. Maximize your life. And tell me back on your cloud hire a year from now. I bet you're happy as can be. And if you'd like to train, we would love to train you, get you through this program a year or two faster than you could do it on your own. We'd be honored to do so. But love your life. Go live your life and make it the best it can be. I see the banners on, so I'm going to learn how to be Mr. YouTube today. Please join us for the completely free Azure Solution Architect Expert Bootcamp in June. The link is in the description below, as well as the chat box. And we've extended our 30% off discount that we had for Memorial Day. We're going to try and extend it a little longer for the what's going on in the economy to really help people. Inflation's sky high. Inflation is close to 10%. It's more like that 8% range we're sort of trying to figure out exactly by looking through multiple metrics, which means the average person basically has 8% less savings last year now than they did last year, 8% less earnings. What's the best way to do that? Increase your salary, get a better job, double or triple your salary. And the Cloud Architect program may do that for you. So if you desire to build your best career, that's what we put all of our programs on for 30% off for the next, until we just, for as long as we can do it, which may be short term, maybe not. We're figuring out how long we can sustain it, but it'll be for a little while, at least a short period of time anyway. KP, you're in healthcare and you would like to transition into IT, preferably healthcare IT. Where should you start? Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. So KP, you and I are the same. Perhaps in the chat box, you can tell me what your healthcare job actually is. Where do you start? Okay, so here's the thing. The first thing they need to figure out is, what do you want to do with your career? Do you want to be a designer like me? So where you design, present, and sell? Do you want to be a system builder? So there's that. Now, there's two ways you can get into healthcare IT. One is you can go out there as a medical person and try to get hired by one of the providers, such as a Cerner, which is now Oracle, Allscripts, Eclipsys. And you can do that, and they hire some clinicians, but there's two grades of clinicians that they actually have. And you said radiation therapist, which is going to help, but it's not going to be as helpful. And I'll tell you what to do with it as well. So you could go to one of these people, a company that makes PAC systems, for example, or people that make chemo and things like that, radiation. No, there's companies that make those machines, and you could potentially work for them. And they will hire people, and that is acceptable. And you'll do well with it. Not great, but well. Because you're always going to be that healthcare person. Now, by comparison, if you do what I did, which is I learned network architecture. This is how I started. Network engineering and then network architecture. And what did I do? I mastered the networking. Mastered it. Became a lead architect at the world's largest ISP. Became a lead architect at a Wall Street firm. Became a lead architect in, at a tech company. And then I joined Cisco. And while I was at Cisco, I was a sales engineer, this is an architect, designing, presenting, and selling products to big banks. And then Cisco decided to say, hey, wait, we would like to start a healthcare vertical. And we're going to focus on healthcare clients. And I went, oh, way. I'm a Cisco certified internet expert with lots of network architecture experience, cloud knowledge, all the system knowledge, and I'm an expert on healthcare. I know what it's like to be a nurse. I know what it's like to be a doctor, as a nurse practitioner, same job. I know what radiation therapists do. I know what the HEMONC does. I know what everybody does. I said to Cisco, I said, would you like a medical professional on your architecture team? So they had a director level position, which is the one I filled. Of course, I translated departments, so I had to go through multiple presentations, multiple promotions to get there, but that's neither here nor there. I combined my things, and now, instead of having a mediocre career, my career was like this. So there's two ways you can do it. You can just try to be a healthcare provider or tech company, and that's okay. Or you can really learn tech. So like if you took a program like our Cloud Architect Career Development Program and really learned the tech, and we taught you the executive communication skills, because that's really critical. The presentation skills, the sales skills, the emotional intelligence skills, and you're going to have some of that from healthcare by nature, but we'll make it better. The reason I asked what you are, certain careers have more emotional intelligence. Yours is going to require a fair amount of it, because the following: when people are receiving cancer treatments, They're not happy people. They don't feel good. So you got to bring out the best. So you're already a head start over most people that are there. Already a head start. But there's the sales skills, these executive communication skills. We don't code as architects, so you don't need to know coding at all. We design, we present, and we sell. So I've been an architect for 25 years. I couldn't code anything. Someone says, Mike, I should do stuff on Git. And I joked and said, what's Git? I know what it is because software people use it, but I won't ever. I haven't used it in 25 years. It's not part of an architect's job. So KP, I want you to think about it this way. The architect is the system designer. So there is an oncologist that meets with the client, assess the client's blood work, does an exam, and decides to write a prescription. And then there are radiology technicians or therapists that actually do the work. So the architect is like the doctor. The doctor or the architect do the same job. Doctor, meet with a client. Doctor, meet with a patient. Architect, meet with a client. Doctor, ask the patient some information. Architect, ask the patient some information. Doctor, examine the patient, the system, and their labs. Architect, bring in a bunch of cloud engineers to baseline the systems. Doctor, make a diagnosis and write a plan called a prescription. Architect, make a diagnosis and write a plan called an architecture. So that's why we don't code. The same way doctors don't deliver radiation treatments. Now, that doesn't mean they don't know what goes into it, but they don't do it. It's not their job. So the architects design, present, and sell. So what's the normal day like? Well, I might go to, say, New York Presbyterian Hospital. I might meet with their CIO. I might ask them about their business goals, pain points, and challenges. I may then think about what I've done for other healthcare organizations to solve those problems. What have we done in banks that might be appropriate in terms of availability and performance? What have I done for maybe the country of Scotland? What have I done with Kaiser Permanente example? I'm just picking big healthcare organizations that I may or may not have consulted for because, just in general. Or maybe I want to deal with HCA, or maybe I want to deal with Everest. Whatever the case is that I could deal with, I know solutions that improve healthcare. Now, I can't take someone's solution from one other, but I do know what works. So, as the architect, we go meet with those executives. We go meet with the chief nursing officer, the chief medical officer, the chief medical informatics officer, and we ask questions. Then a good architect in healthcare is going to do the following. They may sit on site, watch what the nurses do, check out the workflows, look at the radiology department, see what's broken, because there's always something that's broken. And for example, in hospitals, did you know nurses spend 25% of their time looking for equipment? Wait, there may be some RFID tagging that can help nurses find their information sooner. So then there's that. So then, for example, we build that into the plan, then we build the business case and show the customer it's going to cost you X, Y, Z to do this. But the value into time that you're saving with employee overtime is this, which is much greater than the cost to buy this. And then they want to do it. So no coding, but you must know digital transformation, network and data center concepts, healthcare applications, EMRs, CPO systems, etc., lab systems, PAC systems, that you need to know. Not how to code them, not how to set them up, but how they work. And then you need to be able to think about it. Which application of the bunch, because they're all good, most directly interacts with the best workflow. Because we can't just put tech into healthcare. Here's an example, KP. Years ago, medical errors were the 5th leading cause of death. And we were all scared about it. And that's when those of us were writing these ugly paper prescriptions and ugly progress notes. Then we said, hey, digitize everything. Systems that don't make mistakes, right? Well, medical errors went from the 5th leading cause of death to the 3rd leading cause of death because the medical applications did not support the healthcare workflow. So they created more problems than they caused. So the key for us as responsible cloud architects, healthcare cloud architects, is to be experts on what healthcare people need and design a solution. And then when it comes down to it, after I meet with a big customer, let's the UK, for example, and meet with them and I get all their pain points, I'm going to go back to my team, KP, and I'm going to find a cloud security architect, a cloud IAM architect, a cloud big data architect, a cloud database architect, you name it, I'm going to find architects. going to find some engineers and we're going to collaborate to make a design together. I used to lead that effort. Then I'm going to sell it back to the customer with the sales team. And then once that's all done, I'm going to move on to the next client. So I think this would be a fantastic job with the KP. I'd love to train you. I've got lots of medical people, and I'm a medical person myself. I'm a nurse practitioner. Have been for 25 years or something crazy like that. About 25 years. Now you know what the job is. Please join us Thursday for a completely free How to Get Your First Cloud Architecture job webinar. The link's in the description below. Chris or whomever, we can go to the next one. Be intentional. How you would like to have a career in IT, but you're a student in social sciences. Good. That'll be much more helpful than other things. And have no work experience. Knowing that cloud jobs are not entry level. Be intentional. You could take a course like ours and you're going to get a cloud architect job. Or you can learn all those things you want and still get those cloud architect jobs. I love social sciences. My degrees, I can tell you right now, bachelor's in nursing, master's in nursing, and an MBA. I have nanotech degrees, and there's a good reason for it. Tech degrees teach programming. I don't want to be a programmer. So there's that. So what is for the architect? Here's the thing. We design, present, and sell. So an MBA or a sociology degree or a psychology degree or a business degree is much better for us because we design, present, and sell. So here's why. I have an extremely deep psychology background. I almost did another degree in it, actually. I also have an extremely big sociology and economics background. And here's why. That enables me to really help my customers. So why? So I go to the customer. They've got a business problem, right? Now, I need to exercise influence. I need to ask those executives, can I work with your team? I need to ask those executives to get the information from them that I need to make my ultimate design. I have to. I then need to go back to my company and potentially bring in a team of 50 or 100 engineers to go work for me that don't work for me. Leadership skills. I then need to be able to look at economic factors going in, which are really the study of human behavior. And consumer sentiment drives the economy. How do people feel? What do groups of people do? Am I dealing with an intuitive personality type versus a functional personality type versus an analytical personality type? Am I trying to communicate with a visual, auditory, or kinesthetic person? Can I read the person's micro expressions when I'm talking to them? When I'm trying to pitch something and the person's feet are pointed towards the door instead of me, what does that mean? It means they're not interested. They're trying to get out of the room. So good that you're studying social sciences. It's the best thing you could study. Psychology, business, unbelievable. Economics, which I consider a social science, even though it's a cross between sociology, psychology, and finance. But still, it's the same thing. But it doesn't matter what your degree is in. So recently, be intentional. I've gotten people hired with no degrees whatsoever. None. But the point is what matters is, can you do the job? Now, be intentional. I'm going to tell you this. If you interview 1,000 people, you may not find a single person that can do the job. In fact, before I decided to start this program, here's what I did. I took 1,000 AWS certified people and interviewed them. A percentage of them were all 10x AWS certified. They were the least horrible in the bunch. But I interviewed 1,000 people. And I said, hey, I've got 2 equal cost paths to the cloud. Across 2 providers. How do I not get out of our pockets? And like, what are you talking about? I asked them to explain block storage and object storage to me. No one had any idea how it worked. I asked them to explain high availability DNS architecture across multiple clouds, and they laughed at me. Like, what are you talking about? I said, what kind of a database can we use where there's a lot of write traffic that needs a flexible schema across 3 different cloud providers? More write than read it. Nobody knew. And that's the thing, because it's not covered in certification. It's easy to get a job. Easy. It's only easy if you know what you're talking about. So that's really the key. So understand that we can get you hired if you desire, or you can get hired on your own. But on your own, you got to learn those network and data center concepts. And why is everybody saying, like, Mike, why are you teaching the old network and the data center? I'm going to give you an example. Everything we do is take the stuff, Take that virtual machine from your VMware ESXi data center, migrate that virtual machine to either VMware on the cloud, an EC2 instance, which is a virtual machine, a compute engine instance, which is a virtual machine. Azure calls it a virtual machine, Oracle calls it a virtual machine, but you can't move what you don't understand. If you were going to be a chef, how could you cook with ingredients that you didn't know what they were, or what an oven was, or what spices were, or what a pot, pan, and you can't. So that's why you need to know the network and the data centers. And they're not entry level. Here's the thing, be intentional. There is no such thing as an entry level job anymore. Now they're gone. They're gone because it's expensive to hire entry level people. Companies beyond a certain level of people have to provide insurance, which is expensive. So even costs for your lowest employees are expensive, and companies can't afford that. So they don't hire entry level people for anything anymore. They used to, but now we're more efficient. One DevOps engineer can do what 10 to 20 entry level people can do. So why hire 10 to 20? And it's not just that. You hire an entry level person, you've got to dedicate expensive resources to supervise them. So you get a cloud engineer job, we could train you. You get a cloud architect job, we can train you. For my students, that's their first job. So that's what I would say. You can easily do it, easily get it, but you got to train right. Doesn't matter what your degrees are. Mine are in medicine, healthcare. Love it. The healthcare things are where I learned how to be an architect. The healthcare things, I taught therapeutic communication, which is empathy. So those kind of things, I learned more out of healthcare than I ever did. And I did take a tech course. I did take this long University of Chicago, this medical informatics course, and we had to teach them at the university what they were teaching because they didn't know. At least in my experience, those of us that were coming from industry. And what happened was we had taken a course in medical informatics, which was designed to train medical people. But several of us that took the course had actually been designing systems for healthcare organizations for a decade. And it was like, no. So the point is, it was nothing that it was bad school. It wasn't. It was good academic training. It was theoretical in nature. It was high level in nature. It was great. But not for these jobs. For these jobs, you got to know how it works because you can't design, present, and sell things that you don't understand. And that's the difference between the architect and the engineer, or the architect and the admin. The architect needs to know how it works to design it. The admin just configures it. The engineer is sort of in between the architect and the admin, and that's why they kind of have to blend the both skills. You can do it. Just do what you love, be intentional, and go out there and get it. And then, Chris, we can go to the next one. KP, we do have a one-to-one program. It is $20,000 versus our $999, where we provide one-on-one help. We do have that for the people that actually recommend it, but nobody needs that. No one needs it. We only provided it because one or two people said, I want hand-holding, so we've got a $20,000 option of this program. This is a group course. We have 3 live classes per week. People ask questions. I also come on live a couple times a week where people can ask me questions additionally. So there's that. We have a Slack channel where people send messages, and if somebody gets stuck, they send a Slack message and people get respond to them pretty quickly. But this is not a one-on-one program. In order to do one-on-one, we need to basically have dedicated instructors for people. We took a program that's worth about $50,000 and we made it a group program, and therefore we're able to charge a single day's pay. But if you want to talk to people one-on-one, that we have to charge for that. So this is a group training program. Our students are successful every single day of the week. And they're just successful because we know exactly what they need. We've taken, 25,000 pages of material or so, knocked it down into about 500 hours of training, provide everything you need. But it's not a one-to-one coaching program. This is a group coaching program, and we do it that way for a family. I've got students collaborating across the world. I've got students anywhere from Cameroon to Cape Town to Bangalore to London to New Zealand, and they all work together. Of course, the US, UK, South America, but the point is that everybody gets together, but it's not a one-on-one program. We do have a one-on-one program, but we have to charge more for that because we've got to dedicate expensive resources because we don't have any junior resources in our program. Our people are senior people for the most part. Me, Chris, Alonso, we've got 20 plus years, executive experience and heavy experience. And that's how we know how to optimize people's careers. We've all been in positions where we had to hire, fire, run big divisions and marketing departments. And our tech team is unbelievable. Whether it's Eddie in Cameroon, whether it's Chow over there in Dallas area, whether it's Leo over there in Sao Paulo, Brazil, our team is great. And they produce contents and they respond to everybody's messages in a very fast period of time because we want everybody hired. But we want to do it cheaply to get you hired. And that's why we made it a group coaching program. But every day, one of my students gets hired. So they're doing well and thriving, and we do it at the cheapest cost possible. Hope I answered your question. Chris, we can go to the next one. Be intentional. I found a master in IT offered by a university for people with no IT background. The program includes computer network programming. Is it worth doing a master in IT? I never advise anybody to get degrees in technology. If I wanted a cloud architect or some good technology career, I'd advise you to get an MBA. Again, not in tech, because they're not going to teach you what you need to know in a master's degree program. You know, there's an expression, those who can do, those who can't. I've done for 25 years. I don't need to work anymore. I don't have to work at all. I spent 8 years retired. I don't need to work. I only do this for one reason. I was coaching my friend's son, and I bought him the 3 best-selling certification courses that were out there because he wanted a career in cloud computing. And I said to his father, I'll spend 2 to 4 hours with him every Friday to help him build his career on me, free, because we were family. It was a family friend. And after 3 days, the kid calls me back, and he's 21. I call him a kid, but he's not a kid. And he says, Mike, I set up an S3 bucket and an EC2 instance. He said, what is it? And I watched these 3 certification courses in horror. I never saw anything so bad in my life. It was either PowerPoint slides with audio. One of them was talking about cats, and I love cats, but I couldn't even figure out what the heck that was. Another one was even worse, and another one was even worse. So I wasn't sure if the problem was as bad that I thought. So I literally set up interviews, and I interviewed 1,000 AWS certified people, and I couldn't hire a single one. So I intentionally came out of retirement to do this. I said to the kid, I said, we're going to write a book on passing the AWS Certified Solution Architect Professional, strip out 10 pages and literally give it away for free because I don't want anybody to have to see that garbage training. Then we decided to produce a free AWS Certified Solution Architect Bootcamp. It's on our channel. We did it free because I don't want anybody to have to live with that nonsense. Then after that, we did a free AWS Advanced Networking because I don't want anybody to learn networking from somebody that's not a network engineer or an architect because they don't know networking. Then we did a free CKNA because I don't want people having to go and get some PowerPoint slides with audio things. I wanted them to get from somebody that would work at Cisco like me and taught other engineers at Cisco like me because I wanted it to be good. So we did that free. That's why we created a cloud architect career development curriculum, because we want you to get hired at the lowest cost possible. I don't need to work. Not at all. I have to. I feel compelled to because I don't want to see another person spend 3 years on an AWS Certified Solution Architect Associate, a DevOps Associate, a Developer Associate, and a SysOps Associate when they would be an architect. And it's like, okay, now that you spend a year of your time when you could have been earning $600 to $1,200 a day, but you spent a year of your time learning this garbage, we now have to strip it off your resume to get you hired. That's why I do what I do. That's why I do what I do. That's why my students get hired every day. Every day. And we could get you hired too. We could get you hired through our training program, and then I'd strongly recommend getting an MBA for long-term career success. But I wouldn't be doing it but it depends on the job. I mean, for example, if you want to be an architect, learning programming is a worthless skill because we don't code. But learning how to build a business case and calculate an RO model is a critical skill. Now, by comparison, if I was going to be a programmer, learning programming is a critical skill. So be intentional, determine your ultimate destination. If you tell us that, then we can give you a path. But we can't know where to go until we know your destination. But I'll tell you one thing, I love education, but I like degrees that are more well-rounded, like business degrees, psychology degrees. Combine that with training and you're good to go. I've never had a tech degree in my life, and I will never get one for those reasons. But I wouldn't mind doing a second or a third MBA for fun if I ever had time, because I love that kind of stuff, and it does make you better. Hope I answered your question. Chris, we can go to another one. Mr. Businessman, what would you say is the determining factor that goes into a hiring manager's decision to hire someone as a cloud architect versus a senior cloud architect or a principal architect? I'll call that lead architect. Mr. Businessman, it's not what you think it is. You think it's tech, but it's not. In fact, 20 years ago, I had a really good manager. He basically saved my career. He says to me, Mike, he says, you are smart. He said, you're one of the best CCIEs I've ever seen. You've got like 6 other Cisco certifications. I had a CISSP. And he pulls me into a room and he says, Mike, kind of like smacking me against the head in a nice, polite way. And first he said, here's $5,000. It's a spiff bonus because you've done a great job. And then he says, Mike, you're not like the rest of my team. And I was thinking like, uh-oh. And he says, you're different. He says to me, I got a bunch of engineers that, they walk into the thing, they irritate people. He says, they're smart, but they're not you. He said, you walk into the customer, they love you, you buy them lunch, you tell jokes, you bring out the best in others. He said, I watched the senior leadership go on site to see what you were doing. They came back and said, Mike's an exceptional leader. They said, Mike's different than the rest. Treat him differently. So then my manager pulls me into the room and he says, do you know the difference between that $150,000 basic sales engineer and the $300,000 distinguished architect or the $300,000 distinguished engineer? And I went, no. And he says, it's the impact you make to your customer. He says, it's your emotional intelligence, your leadership skills, your sales skills, your executive presence, your knowledge of and how you can influence others to make the best decision to bring out the best outcomes. He said, that determines who's whom. Now, you must have the technical capabilities. Must. But here's what happens. The regular architect, pretty technical, is more on the technical side. The senior may actually be a little more technical or less technical and better business. But once you start walking into these lead roles, we're talking about more executive skills and less tech skills. So, depending upon who you learn, we can talk about our IQ versus our EQ. Our IQ or our actual intelligence will get us to here, halfway to our goals. But your IQ or your math skills or your engineering skills will get you to here. What gets you from there to the top is your leadership skills, your sales skills, your executive presence, your emotional intelligence. So the real key is those skills. They're your high value skills. That's why when somebody says, hey, should you do a master's degree in IT? I say, please don't do an MBA instead. So those are kind of the big factors. Your leadership skills. But you're going to have strong tech skills for the senior roles too. But it's more leadership skills. So you got two people. Person A, super techie, acceptable business acumen and leadership skills. Person 2, techie enough. This guy's here. But this guy's sales skills, executive presence, emotional intelligence, leadership skills, ROI modeling, business acumen. Now, you still take the less technical person for the better roles. Because remember, this is not a certification job. This is not a tech job. This is a hybrid job. It's a cross between an executive and, and a technology professional. One of my students who recently got hired gave him the best description. The hiring manager said, look, I'm not looking for an engineer. I want a sales guy with a lab coat. Someone that can talk tech when I need it, but really I want a sales guy. That's the ultimate role. The closer you are to that sales guy or girl, whatever, I didn't use the term sales guy. That was the other guy. But here's the thing. The closer you are to that better executive, the more senior you'll be. And how do most people tarnish their career? They get 10 certifications. Now, when they get 10 certifications, does that person look like an executive? No. They look like a leader? No. Good sales rep? No. Good business person? No. Good business people focus their time and effort and money on the high value things. They look at the opportunity cost of each decision. So that's what you do. You get the leadership, sales, communication, emotional intelligence, executive presence, business acumen. Build on that. Watch your career accelerate like a rocket ship, Mr. Businessman. You're going to do great. I know you. You already communicate well. The best we can make it, the better you'll be long term. You're going to do fantastic, Mr. Businessman. I already know you. Kumar, I'm young. Thank you so much. I really appreciate that. There's a song, Dream On, where it says, all these lines in my face getting clearer. Dream on. Anyway, and I feel young. Make sure I get my exercise. I don't eat any grains, dairy, or legumes. Follow the paleo diet. Take tons of supplements. And I even jump in the sauna 45 minutes each day. So I try and feel very healthy. I work very hard to stay healthy, because here's the thing. If you're not young in mind and you're unhealthy, you can't help your clients. So Eat right, think right, train right, like my martial arts instructor. And thank you so much for your kind words, Kumar. I try to be young. I'm aware of the reality, but thank you so much, and I'm so grateful. Thank you. Chris, we can go to the next one. Hey, while we're at it, if you're here and having a good time, can you issue a like, comment, or subscribe, everybody? Helps the algorithm. And one last question. You open your website and you know which program to use. You'd like to understand the difference between the Cloud Architect Career Development and the Tech Accelerator Program. Be intentional. The only appropriate program for you is the Cloud Architect Career Development Program. Tech Career Accelerator Program is one of my favorite. I made it for a reason. Mr. Businessman just asked, how do I become more senior? That program is designed for that. How does an engineer go from engineering to manager? That's the point of the Tech Career Accelerator Program. How does someone who's been working in sales but not getting to their goal become a global account manager and earn twice as much? That's the nature of that program. How do you go from being an architect to an enterprise architect and earn more money? That's what that program is for. So the Tech Career Accelerator Program is for technology professionals that are working that want to accelerate their career. The Cloud Architect Career Development Program is a single one-stop shop that includes everything to take somebody with zero background in tech whatsoever and turn them into a cloud architect and help them get hired in about a year, within a year. That's the Cloud Architect Career Development Program. That's the right one for you to be intentional. The other program is exceptionally good, but for people already working. It's kind of like the mini MBA program to take the people that have degrees in computers that are a little rough around the edges and smooth them out so they can move into the better roles, the higher paying roles that require the emotional intelligence and sales skills. What I did is I took, again, an extremely expensive course, turned it into a leadership skill to really build people's careers, and we offer it. It's kind of like my retirement package. And I spent my youth building the most critical systems of the world. Loved it. Then I started tutoring people. While I was working, I had a following. I was tutoring people at work. I just mentored people. I love getting people hired, and I loved watching them get promoted. It was like a high for me. It just made me feel so good inside. Because I started out really, really poor. Like, oh my God, it's the end of the week. I have a quarter tank of gas and $2 in my wallet. I am really rich this week. It's a good week. That's where I come from. So that was, of course, a long time ago. And I don't ever want anybody to be like that. That's why we do so much free training. And that's why we take a course, which is easily worth $50,000 and drop it down. I have students that paid $35,000. I have a student that paid $35,000 for a certification. And it was a worthless certification. 8 months later, they're with us. We actually removed the certification from the resume and got hired. So the point is, we know exactly how to do it. But the best thing for you right now is the Cloud Architect Career Development Program. That's what you need to get hired. Ivan, I have an AWS Solution Architect certificate. Would you recommend the Azure Solution Architect? No. Is there an advantage of having one or the other? No. Here's the thing. Nobody cares about the certifications. We only need one to get an interview. What they care about is your knowledge and capability to get hired. Now, here's what I'm going to tell you. No associate certification do we like. So instead of getting multiple associate certifications, get one professional. Here's what associate certifications signal to hiring managers. I almost might be ready for that interview. Here's what the professional certification is. I may have the ability to do the job. So what happens, we get people that say, hey, I'm going to do this associate, this associate, this associate. In the end, we'll look at it and say, okay, great. We got a hobbyist. It's interested in a lot of things. Great in the wilderness, but not part of my team. So get one. And here's the reason, Ivan. Learn the cloud, not a cloud. Imagine this. Imagine I had a special car. Call it the AWS car. And I'm going to sell it to you. And I train you on the AWS car. And I've got an elastic rotational vector directional changer. I've got this thing over here, which is an elastic alerting system. Honk, honk. And then I've got this elastic rotational turner-oner device, which is the key or the button. And then I've got an elastic gear adjustment, traction adjustment system, which is a transmission. And then I've got a elastic speeder upper, slower, downer device. And then I got an elastic stopping device, and I trained you like that. Now, then I took you to Google. And now you got a new special car. And I had to teach you that this is a cloud-based angular changer. And this is a cloud-based alerting device. And this is called a cloud-based key. And because it's an electric car, This is a cloud-based potentiometer for the accelerator. And we've got this cloud-based Thingamabob stop the car device. Now, Ivan, if you tried to learn that and try to remember each one of these things, it'd be insane. Now, if I said, here's how to drive. Here's your steering wheel. Here's your horn, honk, honk. Here's your key. Here's your accelerator, and here's your brake. You'd know what's going on. So if I teach you what a virtual machine is, which is, let's say, learn in the cloud, and you learn it for real, and you understand it, then you've got a KVM or a virtual machine, it's fine. A QEM be a virtual machine. A Citrix virtual machine, you're fine. A VMware virtual machine, you're fine. An AWS EC2 instance is the same thing. A Google Cloud Compute Engine instance, same thing. An Azure virtual machine and an Oracle virtual machine, it's the same. What do hiring managers want to know? That you know that with the technology, not the name of the teleservice. We can't use those names with our customers anyway. The second we use those names with our customers, here's what they see. They say bias. They don't want bias. They want a trusted advisor and their architect. So that's the key. So no, get a professional certification on this and get a second certification. Maybe a networking certification or a security certification, something big and deep. But don't get yourself a bias of associate certification. It's the worst thing you can do for your resume. Get a professional or an expert one. That's it. Then get something from an industry that you're interested in on the cloud and go maximize your career. Don't waste your time on any more certifications. They won't have any impact on your salary, any impact on your hireability, any impact positive or negative at all. But improve your soft skills. On average, that raises somebody's salary 30%. For the average cloud architect who earns $160,000 a year, that's $40,000+. That's $55,000 a year just for soft skills. Guess what? You're not getting hired without the soft skills anyway, so that's both. Emotional intelligence, on average, raises somebody's salary $29,600 per year for an average career. It's more in tech. Hey, wait, I just talked about $90,000 of salary advancement per year without studying tech or wasting your time or money or effort on a certification. $90,000 a year times 30 years is $2.7 million. So admittedly, I'm an MBA. I do run a business case for everything I do. I look at the opportunity cost of my time. If I spend it here, I can't spend it there, so which gives me a greater rate of return. And I encourage you to think of your career that way. So I told you how to earn more, get hired more, and build a better career. Hope you take the advice, because I really want to see the best for you. Raviender, you're a cloud engineer with 20 years of on-premise infrastructure knowledge. Okay, can I tell us more about the soft skills to move into architecture? So Ravinder, if you, and I don't know what infrastructure knowledge is, I mean, it could be networking, because to me, you can spend 20 years in networking and still have a lot to learn. You could be doing some Linux stuff, which could be infrastructure. You could be the hybrid person that's dealing with some load balancers, some Linux stuff, some basic networking things, etc. Here's the thing. All of that is tech. Now, we don't do any of that, Ravinder. So imagine you're not doing any of that. In your new job, you get told, you got to go meet the CEO of the world's biggest bank. Now you got to go look the CEO in the eye, convince that CEO that you can make them money, improve their business, and do this. So the first thing you need to know is you are no longer an engineer. And if you do any engineering, you're fired on your first day. And if you talk any engineering, you're also fired on your first day. So what are they looking for? They're looking for someone that can walk into the customer, look the CEO in the eye, and command the room. So that's executive presence. Hugely important. I'm going to tell you, I spent a lot of time training that, and you must know that. Next, you are going to be giving presentations. And these are not engineering presentations where you can talk about the problem, and then get to the solution. These are executive presentations where you've got to get to the solution first and then provide your substantiating evidence. Totally different presentation stuff. Now, when we write for executives, we need to take a 200-page document and get it to fit into 2 or 3 pages. So we need to know how to do this. Now, we also, as architects, need to write thought leadership because we're trying to shape the industry. So again, you can look at the kind of articles I write for magazines because I'm in 2 to 5 magazines every single week. And what does that need to look like and feel like? And you need to know how to do that. Now, next, you're going to be managing a team of potentially 50 cloud engineers. So When you get an architecture, you're not going to be able to design it yourself. There's no way in heck you can design anything for yourself, because these architectures can be billion-dollar architectures. So because of that, you're going to need to find the BGP guy like me, or girl, I don't care, the cloud security person, regular cloud engineers, DevOps engineers, maintenance people or sysop people, IAM architects, security architects, big data architects, database architects, application architects. Then you're going to need to be coordinating with multiple vendors to get together to design a solution. Now, vendor, they don't work for you. So now you got to manage people that don't work for you. What's involved in this? Well, you're going to have to reach out to the executives at your company and convince them to dedicate internal resources to your free proof of concepts, which means you may have to go as far up as the CEO in your company to say, I need these 100 people. That means you're going to be having face-to-face conversations with executive vice presidents in your company, senior vice presidents in the company, begging for resources, and you're going to have to corral them based upon your leadership and sales skills. Then you're going to be doing a lot of responding to RFIs, RFPs, and RFQs, and you're going to have to drive the team that's going to respond to this. Some of these RFPs are going to be 1,000 pages long by the time you're done. You can't do it all yourself. Then you're going to have to show the customer, hey, this $800 million thing is going to generate this much return on investment for you, have this payback period, and why? Then you're going to have to go with the client and interview the client. And when you're interviewing the client, the people are going to realize, hey, wait, once we get to the cloud, half of us are no longer needed because the cloud doesn't perform quite as well as the network and data center, but it's so much more agile. So now we don't need 15 CCIUs like me. We only need maybe one. Now we no longer need any of these Linux admin people we need. Why? Because the systems are already set up. The humanities are ready. Our cloud engineers can do it. So I've got to deal with people that are going to get laid off as a result of our work. So we got to find ways to basically take these people, maybe re-educate them so they don't get laid off, so they're willing to work with us. So we got to sell them, and it's in their best interest to help us, even though it may or may not be. So we got to make it in their best interest to help us. Because either way, if they don't learn, they're going to get laid off. Now, you can try and get information from people that don't want to give it to you, or you could do the right thing and say, look, let me cross-train you for the cloud. So when it goes to the cloud, I can tell your hiring manager and your manager that you helped me get there and you're capable of doing the job. So you got to do that sales too. Then, you're going to have to deal with in these proof of concepts. Every single person you deal with isn't going to feel like working every day. So you're going to have to do that. You're going to have to motivate them to work. And guess what? They don't work for you. They work for somebody else, which means you can't fire them or discipline them if they don't do a good job. So your leadership skills are going to have to be even better. So much better. Then you're going to deal with employees that are depressed, and you're going to have to use your empathy to figure out why and make them better. You're going to deal with people that have behavioral and emotional problems, and somewhere along the line, you're going to have to become a therapist. Then you're going to be spending about 25% of your time to 50% of your time entertaining your clients. So you'll be buying lunches and dinners and drinks on a company credit card, but you got to be an expert at knowing what to say, how to say it, and whom to say things to. Then there's the whole reading the room thing. When you talk, you got to talk to the customer, not at the customer. Most engineers talk at people, not to people. Nobody wants to be talked at. They want to be talked to. So there's that. There's the training on how to do that. Then, because you're going to be dealing with CEOs, you need to know what to say to the CEO versus the CFO versus the CIO versus the CTO. This is called CEO or CXO relevancy. You must do this. Now, when you're dealing with executives at the CEO level, you're going to be dealing with a lot of intuitive types like me. Visionary people, but details. You throw detail at us, we're gonna die. So somebody starts throwing details at us, I'm basically saying, thanks, go talk to Chris on the other end. He's my COO. Because I'm an intuitive type. I need vision. That's how I think. There's analytical types that focus on numbers. And there's process types or functional types that focus on that. You have to speak to all of them. Additionally, when you see somebody, you're going to have to look in their office and say, wait, listen to what the person says. I see what you mean, or I hear what you're saying. If they say, I see what you mean, you got to communicate to them in verbal terms. By comparison, if they say, I hear you, you know they're an auditory person. You need to communicate to them. If they say, I feel you, you can say kinesthetic. Imagine how you'll feel in this situation with this technology. So I got to be able to position things in people's own language. So those are just some of the many critical soft skills that we have to teach, and they're the ones that are required because nobody wants an engineer as an architect. Nobody wants to hear, yeah, all we got to do is router BGP 65312, neighbor 192.168, remote AS 65313, network 192.168, 0.0, mask 255.255.0.0, aggregate address. Except nobody wants that. That's engineering. They want someone that can say, sure, we're going to connect you to 2 clouds. We're going to use multiple service providers. We're going to traffic engineer traffic such that traffic goes here primarily. If this doesn't work, it's going to go here. Or we can load share. Which would you like to do? So totally different conversation. Hope I answered your question. Byron Ross, you previously worked for a supply chain giant, but now work for a healthcare company in their supply chain. How does this translate to a cloud architect? Well, I don't know. What are you doing, Byron, in supply chain? Are you designing the supply chain? Are you asking the executives what challenges they have? Are you then determining who their peers are? Are you then thinking for means to optimize the supply chain? Is that what you're doing? That's architecture, exactly. But I don't know what you're doing. So previously worked. So the key is, I don't know what you've done. You've got to explain it to me. So it depends what you've done. Now, if you were doing engineering on a supply chain, that doesn't translate very well at all. You can say, but if you were doing engineering, I bet you there may be some little element that you did that was better. So if by comparison, if you were a programmer and you programmed the supply chain application, programming is not relevant to cloud architect. But what is, you designed the application to improve business performance. So what were the metrics of that software that you developed? Design new application that improved business performance by XYZ%. Now you're talking architecture. So those are the kind of things. What are the business things that you've done? What was the impact of the decisions you made? That's what really matters. If you're a supply chain expert, wow, right now, just think of the jobs that are available for you. International supply chains are the worst they've been in probably decades, maybe in history. So they're terrible. So can you optimize that? It's hugely in demand. Now, how can you use the cloud to optimize somebody's supply chain better, faster, and cheaper than without the cloud? You do that, Byron Ross, and you are a critically in-demand supply chain specialized cloud architect. Now, by comparison, if you work for a healthcare company, maybe there's some lessons learned that you can do from healthcare. Now, I don't know if you're dealing with a company like McKesson, where you're trying to deal with medical supplies getting there when they need it, which would be great experience for healthcare architecture, because now you know how hospitals get their stuff and the challenges they have, so you can provide better consulting to hospitals. Or maybe you have so much background in supply chain that you can advise all businesses on their supply chain. So the real key is to, Byron, is to pull out the good stuff you did in these jobs. What is the business applicable thing? That's what we need to talk about. That's your experience. I just don't know what you've done, because you said I worked for a supply chain manager. You didn't say I was an engineer in here. I was a supply chain architect. I was in supply chain business development. Those are the things that I would need to know to give you more. But Byron, seriously, that could be a very useful background. KP, how long do you have access to the live classes? 1 year. And are they only available during the daytime since you work 7 to 4? Our live classes are all done during the daytime for this reason, KP. We have students globally. So we have one course at Tuesday, but we record all courses, and we have a non-live version of the course you can take called the Cloud Architect Career Development Basic. But here's why we do what we do. Our first class for the Cloud Architects is Tuesday at 9 a.m., which interestingly is 2 p.m. UK and approximately 7:30 in India most of the year. And that hits most of our international audience, because 2 p.m. UK is also 2 p.m. in Nigeria, 3 p.m. in Cameroon, which is basically the same as Central European. So basically we get all of Europe, all of the US, Middle East, and Africa we cover pretty much at that time. It works pretty well. So Tuesdays at 9 a.m. for 2 hours. Now we record these classes so you can just watch the replays. Then on Thursdays at 4 p.m. we have a class, which is at 9 p.m. UK time. A little late for our students in India, but they still make it. I have students in India and Asia that are still attending those classes because they want to learn, and they're doing fantastic. Next is Friday is at 12 p.m. And that makes it 5 p.m. UK time and 9:30 India time. So that way we can't cover the whole world. We get the US, Canada, South America, Europe, Middle East, and Africa. Now, it's a little rough on our Asian students, but they still manage to do it, and they become very successful too. So the key is there's that. But we have a completely non-live version of this course as well, which is the same training, but without the live classes. But what a lot of people that work full-time do is the following. They attend the live class for 20 minutes, 30 minutes. They ask some questions in the live class. They observe the live class for 20 minutes, and then they go watch the replay at home. That's the optimal thing for people that work full-time. Have an incredible number of students doing that and getting hard. Works perfectly. I worked full-time and I did everything that I ever did as well, so I know what it's like. Nothing's easy, especially for us healthcare people, but I do believe we can offer you a better, easier, and a much more lucrative future than healthcare, if you desire it. But thank you for your service in healthcare. Mark Simpson. First, I love the dog. Mark Simpson's fantastic. He's over there in Texas. Yeah, you got your AWS certifications, got little traction. Of course, nobody's going to hire anybody based on certifications. He recently enrolled in our GC engineering class, and he's being remade with my mentoring. I'm so thrilled and grateful to be working with Mike. He's doing fantastic. Been with me for a couple of weeks, and I can always see the expertise. But what I always see, Mark, is the decency, the communication skills. With everything you say, there's some leadership skills in there. So I've got big expectations where you go, Mark. I think some really exciting things are coming your way for this next career. Now you had a great one. It's going to be your next one. And I have big expectations for you. I think you're going to really love it. I'm so excited to be working with you. KP, at the end of the program, you have to pass. So KP, this is not an exam, a test where I can have an exam, because am I going to give you an exam on everybody the same ROI model? No. Am I going to make you do things? So what happens, KP, is through the program, we give you things to do. So the first thing we do is build a career plan with you. You turn it in and we give you feedback. Then we make you take some videos about yourself. Interestingly enough, the questions we ask are the kind of things that are the behavioral questions that actually are an interview. So we start prepping you for the interview on day one. Then there'll be assignments you do, which you turn in and you get feedback in the entire time. This is not a certification course. This is real training. It's not like a silly certification course. This is real education. So then, after that, we'll have you do more assignments and turn it in. But we're also going to have you do projects. And we have to do labs. And the reason is everybody wants to see some experience on your resume. So the rest of the world will have you do some AWS labs, some Azure labs, and say, hey, you're good to go. Well, here's the thing. Nobody's hiring you on that. And the reason nobody's hiring you for that is I taught an 8-year-old how to do these labs. I'm not joking. In less than 5 minutes, because it's that easy. So you need something that looks experienced. So we create internships for all of our students, and our students do real labs. Yeah, our students do the AWS lab, say they've done it. They do the Azure lab, but our students do real labs. Our students set up server virtualization, so they know what it is. Our students design and build their own containers, so they know what it is. Our students set up block storage, object storage, file storage. Our students set up storage. They set up file servers for server message block for Windows and NFS for Linux. Our students build the Linux Apache MySQL PHP stack. They say they've done it. My students set up Active Directory servers. My students build firewalls and play with them. My students build VPN concentrators and play with them. My students all build their own cloud from scratch. That's right. My students all build their own cloud from scratch. And now when you go on an interview, you got Mike students. Designed and built their own cloud, experience with all the data center technologies, experience with the cloud, super smart, emotionally intelligent, good leadership skills, good sales skills. And then you get the techies that are coming out of the engineering project. I can configure this. And it's like, yeah, but I need you to design this. So there's no exam. We will help you with your resume. We will teach you salary negotiation skills, and we'll teach you interview skills as part of the program. And 3/4 of the way through the program, we will ask you to change your LinkedIn profiles, change your resumes according to our instructions, and you'll be bombarded by recruiters and hiring managers trying to talk to you. By bombarded, I mean 5 to 15 people per day will reach out to you and try and hire you. My students will tell me every day, it's like, Mike, when is it going to stop? And I say nothing, because you've got the perfectly organized thing. And there's like 100,000 jobs and nobody filled them. The only people that are applying are, hey, I'm certified, I'm certified, I'm certified. And it's like, yeah, well, great, thank you, but nice to see you. Come back. So what do we say when we interview people that don't know? Well, there's two options. We could interview somebody that could be a train wreck, and we could say, you're a train wreck. Or we could say, come back when you have more experience. Which sounds better? Here's the thing, KP. You're a busy person in your career. I'm a busy person. Hiring managers are busy people. We don't interview people they don't think are capable of doing the job. So we'll show you exactly how to build your portfolio. The world will come to you, and you'll know how to skip HR and get hired and go straight to the hiring manager, and you'll do great if you do all the work. Our students that do all the work as a whole do extremely well. And then we almost every day we get a student cloud hired. We'd love to help you too. I know what it's like coming from healthcare. I did it myself. Chris, we can go to the next one. Do we have a course for the SACO2? Absolutely. It's completely free and it's on our YouTube channel. Can you get a cloud architect job based on the certification? Nobody gets any cloud architect job based upon any certification. The certification is the name of the service and how to configure it, and the cloud architect designs and presents and sells. So yes, we have a completely free course for that, but no, for the most part, there's no job that you can get in the cloud by just getting certified. You need actual knowledge, etc. And cloud architect jobs require extreme knowledge of the network and the data center, knowledge of BGP, knowledge of interior gateway protocols such as OSPF, knowledge of IP addressing, subnetting and supernetting, route summarization, route aggregation, knowledge of NAT, one-to-one NAT, one-to-many NAT, static NAT, dynamic NAT, WAN protocols such as IPsec tunneling, SSL tunneling, serial lines, Ethernet private lines, Ethernet over MPLS, software-defined networking, SASE. It involves switching technologies such as spanning tree, rapid spanning tree, VLANs, VLAN tagging, VLAN trunking. It involves knowledge of QoS kind of protocols and rate limiting kind of protocols. It involves knowledge of ARP and proxy ARP and DNS and DHCP. And then it understands deep data center knowledge, understanding of virtualization and its functions, and understanding of containers and container orchestration, understanding of storage area networks such as block storage, object storage, file storage, what they work, understanding of NFS versus server message block, understanding what kind of business applications to use, etc. When you use an ERP system, when you use a CRM system, how does it optimize and improve the business, etc., etc., etc. For example, so there's that. Then there's the what kind of databases to choose from and when. Then there's how do you do a multi-cloud architecture, which is basically not taught at all in certification, but 87% of customers want multi-cloud, and no certification teaches how to do that, except for maybe Nutanix. And then after that, and the aviatric stuff is still, it's good, but it's more on the network side than the multi-cloud side. So it's not architect stuff. So keep that in the back of your mind. Then there's knowledge of what kind of firewalls to use, next generation firewalls, IDS, IPS systems, VPN concentrators, etc. None of that's covered there. But then we got to remember, this is a design, present, and sell job. So you're going to need sales skills, leadership skills, emotional intelligence skills, business acumen skills, ROI modeling skills, CXO relevancy skills, sales skills, executive presence, and executive communication skills, to name a few. So nope. None of that's covered in certification. Certifications will not yield a job. But we do have a course for that, and it's absolutely completely free on YouTube, and it's a good start. And it will help you get interviews, which is why we do it. Certifications help you get an interview, but the other knowledge, what we're talking about, that's what gets you hired. Chris, you can go to the next one. Thank you for your question. Jessica, you're a student of our Cloud Architect Career Development Program. Okay, great, wonderful. We're thrilled to work with you. Do you mind sharing what types of cloud architects there are in the job market? Sure. And if you're our student, probably one of the first videos, you will notice that in the course, where we talk about what kinds of architects. But as a rule, there's generally the generic cloud architect, which focuses on the end-to-end system design. There are cloud security architects that focus on cloud security. There are cloud network architects that, like me, that tend to focus more on the network. Now, it's not a cloud architect, but there are big data architects. There are application architects, but that's not a cloud architect. But then there are cloud architects that can specialize in an industry. A healthcare cloud architect, a banking cloud architect, a retail cloud architect, a transportation cloud architect. And then you can really think about where do you want to focus that career. Do you want to be more on the enterpriser side like me, where you're more an executive and that opens up a new world of doors for you? Or do you want to be more that 50-50 hybrid, technology professional and business executive? And that's fine. Or it could be like me. I focus 80% on the business and 20% on the tech because I'm more on the enterprise side. It's much more lucrative, but I like the business stuff more. In my youth, I loved the tech. In my old age here, I love what the tech can do for me, what the tech can do for humanity, what the tech can do for business. So I'm going to tell you one thing. What I learned in my life is nobody buys tech because it's cool other than us techies. So they're the basic types of cloud architects that are there. Pick one, focus on it. You'll do great. Just do exactly what you love. Basically, become great at it. And if you're a student, we're super excited to work with you, and I hope to meet you very soon. Like on Thursday's class, turn on your camera, wave hello. I'd love to meet you. I've got about 10 minutes, so if you've got a question, let me know. Otherwise, it's so nice to speak to you. Rana, good evening, sir. Your question is your refresher. Okay. Companies always want experience in most jobs. Well, here's the thing, Rana. Companies have always wanted experience for these jobs. My first tech job wanted 10 years of experience. I had none. My second tech job wanted 15 years of experience. I had 6 months. What do you have to do, Rana? You have to be better than the rest. So what employers are not looking for is experience. What they're looking for is competency. Competency and experience are not the same thing. But if you look at a job description, they're looking for experience. If you're talking to the hiring manager, they're looking for competency. And here's why. When HR posts a job description, they get 5,000 applications on a standard thing. And an HR person has no idea about technology at all. Now, human resources know what to pay people, they know what their benefits should be, and they know which people fit into an organization's culture, but they have zero knowledge of whether you're good or not. So they look for years of experience. Now, here's the major problem with that, Rana. I would like somebody with 25 years experience in this. And you know what you get? They come through, they meet through HR, they send this to the hiring manager, they get someone that knows a little of this, a little this, a little this, a little this, and they're incapable of doing any job. So interview about 100 of them, 50 of them, and we're done. And we call our favorite recruiter. And we say, hey, I need a cloud architect that's capable, that speaks well, that writes well, and presents well. Then the recruiter calls us back with your candidates, and then we interview them, and we skip HR. Now, here's the thing. Competency and experience are two different things. When I was doing my clinical rotations as a nurse practitioner, I'm obsessive compulsive in that I can't not know. So when I was in school, I was reading 1,000 pages a day. The average student was reading 100. I was midway through my clinicals. Now, I was a nurse and doing my nurse practitioner clinicals. And the doctor that I was doing my clinicals for says, Mike, I've spoken to your dean and your professor. I would like you to stay here through the remaining rotations, he says. Got a pediatric thing you can do. You can do all the gynecology exams. You don't have to do any more gynecology rotations. You can do rheumatology here because I used to be a rheumatologist. And I used to be an orthopedic surgeon as well. So you can do all that here. And he said, as a bonus, I would like to pay you. He said, I can't pay you as a nurse practitioner because you're not one yet. But I can pay you the same rate, and we'll call it your nursing pay. But I want you to do all your clinical rotations here. I want you to do the same job. See the patient, talk to them, case me. I'm going to walk in, I'll sign the prescription, and I'll do whatever's necessary if you need help. Came in, talked to the people, so we followed all the legal procedures while I was in school. He teched them. I got paid while I was in school as a nurse. Why? The guy says to me, Mike, I've hired nurse practitioners with years of experience. You're better. He says, I don't know what you did. I don't know why you read and study so much, but you are not normal. I need you on my team. Why? I was good at it. I focused on being competent. By the time I was done school, I had offers lined up everywhere. In a time where nobody even knew what a nurse practitioner was. Because I built a brand. I had a name. I had a reputation. Rana, last week, Jordan got hired by AWS 2 weeks ago. He never had any experience in his life. Yvonne Tamba, you can see his video on our channel. He also got hired by AWS. This is his first job. His last job was serving food at a restaurant in Atlanta. So the difference is they want competence. So who would you hire, Rana? I'll give you 2 examples. I've got a beautiful 8-year-old little girl with my right hand. She has pigtails and she smiles and she's hugging her cat. Beautiful. Now this 8-year-old little girl just hacked into the Pentagon. Then she hacked into the NSA and the CIA. And then she hacked into MI5 and MI6 in England and the Israeli Mossad. She did it all at 8 years old. Now, on the left hand, I have 100 security engineers and architects that were defeated by this 8-year-old girl. Who do you hire? I hire the 8-year-old. She can do the job. I fire half of the people she broke. Then I start finding better people that aren't getting defeated. Competency and experience are not the same thing. I knew doctors that graduated medical school that were the best at day one. 50 years later, they're even better. I knew people that graduated that were bad doctors on day one, and 50 years later are even worse because they didn't have a constant education. So kind of keep this in the back of your mind. Employers want competency, competency, competency. Experience does not equal competence. Experience just means you've been doing something. You could be doing it wrong, but you're experienced. So employers want the following: technical competency, someone they can trust, so don't lie on an interview, and energetic, enthusiastic, passionate, someone that's excited about the work. Someone that's emotionally intelligent, meaning they bring out the best in others. Someone that's willing to go above and beyond, and someone's a team player. That's what employers want. We ask them every day. You do that, you'll be in good shape. But also, make sure you get that sales skills, emotional intelligence, business acumen, communication skills, etc., etc. D.F. Radcliffe, how do you read so much, so fast, and comprehend all the information you read? Well, D.R. Radcliffe, I do things differently than most people. Most people only learn a little this, read a little this, read a little this, read a little this, read a little this, like a hobbyist. Not me. I'm a specialist. I have a laser-like focus. It's like, okay, this is the one thing that I need to know. There's nothing else in my life other than that. Here's my life. My wife, my cat, and right now, how do I make all my students get hired? That's it. There's nothing else going on in my life. Zero. I remove everything. And that's the thing. You can accomplish a lot of stuff in a short period of time if you remove all distractions and things. So that's what I do. And you can do it too. And I want to see you get hired. So whatever you find your passion. Find something you love. Find something that you're excited to learn about. If it's fun for you, you're going to learn about it. You will become great. And then you can achieve anything. Now, D.F. Radcliffe, if you asked me to learn how to code, I would view that as some form of cruel and unusual punishment. And I wouldn't be able to do it for more than 3 minutes. But my buddy of mine loves to code. And for this person, it's fun. So you got to find what you love. What you love is never fun, never hard to learn. I love business. I like helping people. I like leading teams to bring out the best in others, and I like getting people hired. So that's the things I study. Interesting. Psychology, economics, leadership, sales, emotional intelligence, system design. They're the skills I use most to help others. So that's what I do. I focus everything, remove everything out of the rotation, and then I find it very easy to learn things. Great question, D.F. Radcliffe, and thank you so much. WK, we make grand thanks there. Thank you for help. Thank you so much. We work really hard. I work hard on it. Chris works hard on it. Chell works hard on it. Leo works hard on it. Eddie works hard on it. Alonzo works hard on it. So we're very grateful. We're going to do everything we can to help you guys all get cloud hired. So let me close on these things. I wish I had more time, but I have to get back to some other things. If you're looking to get your next cloud architect job or cloud engineer job, we have a 30% discount on our cloud architect career development program, our cloud engineer career development program, our tech interview mastery program, our cloud Linux program, and even our tech career interview programs. All of them. All there, 30% off of everything. So if you want to get cloud hired, now's your time at the lowest price possible. Now next, If you're working on Azure certification, join our completely free bootcamp. Completely free bootcamp in June. Register now. Sign up. The link is in the description below. And start following us on LinkedIn if you want to put my account. I'm going to be publishing a tremendous more number of magazine articles, blog articles, and other things to help build your career. Follow me on LinkedIn, because we want to do anything we can to help you get hired. And lastly, join me tomorrow for the super fun, incredibly educational learning experience on how to get your first cloud job. Register it for tomorrow. It's free. It's going to be on Zoom. We'll have a wonderful conversation. It's going to be this great conversation. Come and enjoy us. You can even ask us questions live on Zoom. And heck, while we're at it, I'm going to be bringing on a lot more CEOs to improve your business acumen experience. And on Friday, June 3rd, I'm going to have the CEO from Concept Elements, and he's going to talk about cloud-based weather apps and safety. So I'm going to be bringing on a lot more CEOs for you to get more to improve your CXO relevancy and your business acumen completely free. So join us. If you had a good time, please like, comment, and subscribe to the channel. Tell others to see our channel, because we work really hard. My personal goal of getting to 30,000 subscribers by my birthday, which is in August. We just crossed 28,000 on this channel. We only created about a year and a couple months ago, so we have the fastest growing and most viewed cloud computing channel on YouTube, which we're super excited about in terms of views per month. Please spread the word. We're going to give as much people, as much training that we can. So take care, everybody.